A customer from Xi'an brought in this 3.0T Audi Q5 today. From the wear on the steering wheel cover, you can basically tell this car should have run hundreds of thousands of km, but it's actually run less than 160,000 kilometers. The 3.0T engine's power isn't even as good as a decent 2.0T. With power this week, it's likely too much carbon buildup on the valves, and too much carbon inside the cylinders. The chassis feels quite loose. Turning the wheel while driving makes clunking sounds. There's noise underneath, and the chassis is also leaking oil. This customer is quite knowledgeable too. He doesn't want to replace the chassis bushings. He wants to replace with a set of OEM control arms instead. But after this many km, if you only replace the bushings, the next time something wears out, if there's another problem, that money is wasted. Now looking at the exterior, you can see the bumper is just resting there. Look, this end has come loose. And the fender liner, the front section is worn straight through. The pedal underneath has been hit out of shape. For the exterior, we'll replace a set of pedals, rewrap the steering wheel, and replace the front bumper. Now we'll inspect the engine to check for cylinder scoring and how much carbon buildup there is. This spark plug is done for. Unclear audio. Looking at this recent coating, there's no scoring. There's quite a lot of carbon on top of the piston, a black layer. This carbon needs to be cleaned off soon, otherwise it will scratch the cylinder wall coating. Right now inside here is the coating. There's quite a bit of carbon buildup on top. The cylinder itself is fine. Now let's lift the car up and look at the chassis issues. This has clearly been replaced before. The engine's rear cover is leaking oil onto the steering rack. In a case like this, there's no need to overhaul the engine at all. You just need to drop the engine, remove the rear cover, and reseal it with sealant to fix it. Now the engine has been removed. Let's look at where the oil is leaking from. For this 3.0T engine, oil leaks mainly happen around the rear cover, mostly caused by the titanium-magnesium alloy bolts loosening over time. Our fix is to replace these bolts, then remove the rear cover and reseal it. That's all that's needed. For the chassis, we selected for the customer a set of Bestand B4 shock absorbers. The Bestand B4 shocks give good body support. The car is more stable cornering at high speed. For the sway bar bushings, we used a set from L brand, same quality as OEM. The engine mounts used are imported L brand. These bolts were ordered specifically for the rear oil leak fix. We ordered some OEM titanium-magnesium alloy bolts. These bolts are all single-use. After the repair is completed, all fluids need to be replaced. This is the most expensive fluid. This small bottle costs over 500 yuan for just 150 milliliters. It's dedicated oil for the mechanical supercharger. Brake fluid and engine oil are both OEM. For transmission fluid, we used the brand's F8 specific fluid for the customer. The differential oil and axle oil are also that brand's F series. Now all the parts are ready. We'll start the work right away. Wear damage. Remove the rear cover. Clean it first, then reseal it. Installation complete. Reinstalling the engine. Preparing the chassis. Now we've got this car all ready. Replace the bumper. Fix the engine's oil and coolant leaks. Prepared the chassis. Next, let's take it out for a test drive. Before the repair, the vibration in neutral or low gear was very noticeable. Now it's very smooth. Riding in it feels stable too. The power has also improved a lot. No more of that vibrating feeling. Now it actually feels like a 3.0T. When it first came in, stepping on the gas the car felt sluggish. Accelerating you'd only hear the engine straining. The speed basically wouldn't climb. The chassis feels solid now too. With the Bestand B4 shocks installed, the overall feel is tighter and more solid. It has that new car chassis feel now. Nowadays an old car like this wouldn't sell for much. So if you spend a relatively small amount, just over 10,000 yuan, to fix the oil leaks and coolant leaks on the chassis, it's well worth it to drive a few more years. In the next video I'll go over each Audi engine model, roughly what needs replacing when repairing them, and how much it costs, so everyone can avoid getting scammed on repairs.